In today's world, it's undeniable that technology is the driving force behind businesses, big and small. Everything we do is enabled by it. As a result, business and information technology, or IT, are more and more intertwined. This fact, in conjunction with ever-increasing requirements from the business, is calling for the IT function to evolve from its traditional role as a services provider. In this framework, business and IT leaders need to work together and sync their strategies to adapt quickly and with agility to market disruptions and take advantage of emerging opportunities and technologies. Whether you are a tech-savvy chief information officer eager to stay ahead of the curve, or someone who simply wants a better grasp of where the IT function stands today and what its future looks like, this first episode of TechTalk's new season on tech trends for 2024 is for you. Joining us for this enlightening conversation are Krzysztof Jaros-Kraszewski and Adam Tymofiejewicz, who are both directors specialized in technology strategy at PwC Luxembourg. They share with us the CIO's main challenges and priorities, how the IT function currently operates and collaborates with the business, and much more. I'm your host, Carla Santos, and today is a special episode, as I will welcome my new co-host. This is Tech Talk, technology made simple over a cup of coffee. So grab your favorite beverage, and let's dive right in. Welcome to a new episode of Tech Talk. This one is about the evolution of the IT role and its interaction with the business. But before we get started, I want to give a warm welcome to my new co-hosts, Christopher Rosa. Chris, would you like to say a few words about yourself?
Sure. First of all, I'm super excited to be here today. I was there, as you know, a couple of months or even years ago as a guest speaking about technology, but today it's amazing to be back as a co-host. A few words about me then. First thing is I'm a manager at PwC Luxembourg in the emerging technologies team, but most importantly, I believe, is my motto. I like to demystify technology and let's say try to avoid what I like to call the shiny new tool on the shelf syndrome, which is when we bring a tool or technology to an organization, but people don't use it because they don't adopt or understand it. So we try to bring these tools, these new technologies with and for people so that they actually adopt it. But enough about me, because today is not about me. Today is about Krzysztof and Adam. So welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome.
Hello.
Very nice having you. Well, let's kick off. Can you tell us about yourselves? Why are you here today?
So let's start from myself. I'm Adam Tymofiejewicz, director in technology consulting, advising clients, CIOs, how to adapt their IT strategy to the business needs. I'm also helping clients with digital transformations. And, I'm the marathoner. I already finished 18 marathons. And I believe when you are a CIO, you need to look at your IT and IT strategy like a marathoner. So prepare long term, but be adaptive because you never know what would be the weather, what would be your mental and physical preparation. So you need to plan, but be ready to adapt.
And
so that's my motto.
That's a very nice analogy. I like it. What about you, Krzysztof?
First of all, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation. And starting to presenting myself, I would like to give you a bit more perspective, what we are doing, and then how we are, creating all of this. So, 4 years ago, we have created the IT strategy and CIO advisory practice in PwC Luxembourg. Since then, we are working mainly with the CIOs, head of IT, directors of IT in Luxembourg and beyond Luxembourg. We are working on 4 major areas which are vital for the CIOs. IT strategy design, so as Adam said, where they go, what they would like to achieve in the longer midterm. Then we do IT strategy roadmaps, which is how to transform this ambition into practical and successful journey to achieve those goals. Further to this, we also do a lot of CIO buddy kind of advisory. So we assist CIOs in the day-to-day activities and we help them in all of the typical IT function topics. And lastly, we help in creating operating model, so the entire delivery engine of the IT. It's also very interesting that most of those organizations talk about agility. As Adam said, be agile, adaptive. So enterprise agility and operating model in regards to this is the key interest of the stakeholders. From my side, I'm Christopher, and as Adam said, we are helping all those stakeholders achieving their targets and dreams.
Thanks. I think that gives us a great intro and, let's say, overview of what we are going to talk today. But maybe before we deep dive into how the IT role has evolved and what concretely does it mean today, maybe you can share with us a couple examples. So you spoke a lot about CIOs, but what are the challenges that they see today in the market, and maybe what priorities can we observe?
Chris, it's a very good question. So trying to look a bit step back and look from outside what's going on in the market, we can say that based on the CIO Pulse survey 2022-2023, we observe that major challenges are in regards to the cybersecurity and privacy. Especially this kick out mainly after the COVID. So this is one of the first observation which is a concern of the CIOs. Second one, especially in Luxembourg, is the talent development and access to the people, to the talented young people who are experienced in IT. This is also combined with the fact that organizations, companies have got a technological depth and they need to kick out with modernization. Having the right skills and knowledge to do it is essential for most of the CIOs. Lastly, what we observe is that all of this dynamic, all of this change must be supported by the proper operating model, proper delivery engine, as I said, and the new way of working. As we know now, it's after post-COVID hybrid way of working, home-based and office-based, but also the agility, flexibility, what Adam mentioned. This new way of working is a predominant right now concern of many, many CIOs.
All right, so let's now deep dive. What is your point of view on the overall evolution of the IT role towards the business? Adam.
Yeah, that's a fair point, fair question, especially in the context of all the changes that we observe on the market, which Krzysztof listed. We spoke about talents, technical depth, but in this context, we observe that the role of IT is changing to be able to serve the business. So at the beginning, IT was more like an IT provider, focusing on efficiency, making sure that the IT is running, so was keeping lights on. Then the IT evolved towards more being a business partner of the business units within the organizations, very often co-creating some products that were part of the business value proposition. And then it evolves from being business partner towards business enabler. So at a certain moment, we saw that the organization couldn't exist without IT. So we can refer, for example, to banks. Now you cannot imagine bank without having IT. And then there was another step that I believe is observed nowadays. It's IT became an integrator. It's an organization nowadays that brokerage, meaning integrate the services from external providers and offers and provides them within the organization, but also outside the organization, using kind of Lego blocks and creating from those Lego blocks services and products both to the business and to the external customers.
So much more proactive role than before.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, and then now that we understand a bit more the role of IT, let's say its evolution more so, can you be a bit more, let's say, concrete on the trends that we observe in the transformation of the IT organization today?
Sure. So I mentioned about the evolution, but then let's take those two extremes: IT as a service provider and IT as a broker integrator. So definitely, when we compare those two extremes in terms of IT role, we can see that in terms of, for example, technology, IT evolved from focusing on home-based construction of the software towards more standard applications like CRM solutions that now are offered as a service, so software as a service. And IT is taking those different applications and integrating. So that's one important element. Additional element that we observe is the approach towards sourcing. I think here there is a much more strategic thinking in terms of the sourcing. So some services are categorized as low priority or low added value. Those are commodity services that are acquired more operationally from the market. And then on the other hand, like for example, digital transformation, then the IT is acquiring those services from the strategic partners, creating alliances, for example, around some technologies, and then using them to deliver the value to the business.
Are there any other factors driving their transformation?
Having this context, what we presented about what is the strategic dimension, what is the target operating model, behind of the scene there is a very important element. Where is the value of IT? What really the IT delivers to the business? And here what we see is that the value, it's basically connected of the getting a competitive edge, meaning long-term investment, having something what will bring the benefits and is differentiator in the long run. Secondly, what we see is that driving the customer adoption, user centricity, product centricity, these are the aspects which are really focused and underlying the value creation. And aside of this, we've got also the two aspects when we talk about strategy and value creation, is doing the right things and doing the things right. So doing the right things is the focus on business agility, what really makes sense and value for the business. This is the essence of existence of IT, bringing the value to the business. While on the second hand, doing the things right is how you streamline the process, how you are more efficient, how you deliver. This is the paradigm of the operational excellence.
I think it's super important what you mean with this value creation and so on. But can you be maybe a bit more practical about what concretely means value creation in the IT role?
Yes, sure. Everything about the value creation is basically where you focus. And what we observe for IT, that the focus is on the core competences, meaning the business value competences, the let's say systems, technologies, which really brings what business needs. While the supporting commodity services, as Adam said, are more and more externalized. For instance, help desk. Also, what is interesting is that there is shift to this close collaboration between IT and business and co-creation. Then, aside of this, is focus on the priorities to change the bank. More and more, the change the organization, basically. More and more, the companies are trying to limit the operations, so run the bank, towards putting more effort to change the bank or change the organization. Lastly, what we see is also that business plays very active role in one, priority giving, what IT should do, but also in verification, what IT deliver. If we talk about agile organization in one of two companies, we've got roles of product owners, meaning representatives of the business who are sitting with IT, and then they cooperate with IT to first steer the IT delivery, but also to verify if the IT deliver what they really want. When we talk about value, this is more, let's say, agile approach, which is now very, very trendy, is 20% of the IT functionalities are cover 80% of the needs. This is the paradigm of Pareto law. And here, if we take this as example and look on the day-to-day life, let's say Microsoft Word, how many functions do we use every day? Maybe 20% on reality.
Maybe.
Exactly.
Maybe less.
Even less. While effort to deliver those 80 remaining functionalities, which no one is using or very rarely using, it's a really huge effort. So the real focus is on those 20%, which brings the biggest value to the majority. And another aspect, in fact, this is summarizing this value creation topic, is the delivery engine, the evolution. As Adam said, right now, in order to deliver this value, you need to have the right skills, right processes, governance, in order to be able to serve properly.
I believe maybe to supplement what Krzysztof just said, and before we even jump into the discussion about IT operating models, it's worth to reflect on the example that Krzysztof gave about this 20-80% Pareto, because behind this we have technical debt, and that's one of the points that were mentioned at the beginning, that this is one of the pain points for the current CIOs. There is a huge technical debt, and this technical debt is created by producing the functionalities of the software that is not needed by the organization. And it can be abstracted not only to the features of a software, but also to different applications or systems that organization acquired, which creates the complexity. Very often it creates a kind of spaghetti mesh because you need to wire all those functions within the organization. So I strongly encourage here to take a look on that and try to trim. Really, this is what those elements which are not necessary, because it creates complexity, it creates risk into the organization, which is not good. Yeah.
Definitely not. Well, thanks for the advice. Now let's talk about IT operating models. Can you give us some examples of the evolution of the IT operating model?
Yeah. So I think I already mentioned about the evolution of IT role, and we can look at it in the context of the evolution of IT operating model. But the first question is, what is IT operating model? What are the elements that are there that constitutes the IT operating model? So first of all, we talk about processes, technology, then organization and governance. So if we refer to already mentioned two roles of IT as a service provider versus IT as a broker, then we see that there was an evolution in terms of the processes from very silo, very structured IT service management processes. It was ITIL version 2, then it evolves towards ITIL version 3 framework. Currently, we see the newer version of this framework in terms of the processes that can be brought to the organization. It's more adaptive, it's more agile. Then if we shift towards technology, I already mentioned some examples here. So just to summarize, it's an evolution from monolithic to more modular approach in terms of how the applications are constructed. Also, organizations and the skills that are needed are evolving. So very often, when IT was more traditional, the organization required experts in some domains. Now we see that more versatile profiles are needed, because we are connecting different services that we need to integrate. And at the same time, organization can rely on some external experts. So here the sourcing element is super important. And then governance, which evolves, I believe, from something that was control to to something more adaptive, which is focusing on empowering people, relying on expertise of those who are doing the work. So it's not like to create a change organization board with high-level people who doesn't touch the system. So now it's more delegating those different decisions to the lower level of the organizations, to those who have hands-on expertise and experience to try and test it. Yeah, that's what we see.
Yeah, and I think it's also interesting to see here that people are also key in these operating models. But maybe with these new operating models, then how does the IT organization change today?
So to summarize maybe this evolution, as we already said at the beginning of late 80s, we talk about more silo organization of IT, where we had this plan, build and run, where normally the business was interacting directly with each of these pillars. So there was, let's say, straight to the point discussion with, I don't know, people who design the system, people who operate, etc. Now, as late, let's say, 1990s, 2010, we observe the tendency that organizations of IT change a bit to have more transversal functions, to bring more a bit layer of commodity, trying to find the same patterns for both. So for instance, architecture was transversal new function for many organizations. Then it's more on the, let's say, broker model when it started to be visible at the market 2010, 19. The situation changed a bit that the IT started to be broker coordinator of IT departments, while was also exposed to the business interaction. And the backend services, which I already mentioned as commodity, were more and more externalized. This is the predominant, let's say, situation towards the next organization model called product-based. Here, the business is organized about around the product, services, and IT the same. They work together to aim to achieve one goal, so let's say develop a product which is for, let's say, banking, mobile banking, new application. Also here, what is interesting is that organization is flattened in the IT. There is lack or, let's say, reduction of the hierarchy structure. It's more squads or teams which have the complementary knowledge and skill set to be independent to deliver the service to the business. And this pattern more and more we observe in many, many organizations.
Well, we were very efficient, I think, and we are coming. Our episode is coming to an end. So, could you share with us and our listeners your advice or the message you want them to remember from this episode? Who goes first?
Yeah, I can share top 3 takeaways from this discussion. First of all, I would start with important element that I think should be considered. We spoke about the evolution of IT, but at the same time, we see that the expectation towards CIOs is evolving, and it is expected more and more that he knows or she knows better the business context of the organization. So what's going on in terms of the clients, regulations, not only specifically around IT, but much broader. So knowing the business context is getting more and more important, also for IT, also for CIOs. Point number 2, as a more call to action, I would say, is to building and establishing relationship with the key stakeholders. IT is not just for IT. There are, of course, projects that are related to IT. We call them IT for IT, but mainly IT is around the business. So we are, as an IT organization, enablers for the business to provide value both internally for the business users, for the support functions, but also for the customers, external customers of the organization, and to be able to deliver projects or programs like digital transformations, we need to know the key stakeholders, their needs, and also their challenges, and become their partner. Yeah, and the last point, I would say it's something which is linked with my private life. I mentioned marathons, but I will repeat this element here. It's super important to plan long term, to have this vision 5 years, maybe 3-5 years, but be adaptive, which means that the organization, especially IT, should should use the operating model that will allow adaptation to the changing environment. And that's why we also need to know what is outside the organization so we can react faster and also modify the strategy to serve the business needs.
So we come full circle.
Yes.
With the analogy.
Yeah.
Krzysztof, would you like to add something?
I would like to complement maybe those points which Adam mentioned. From my perspective, the main takeaway of this evolution of IT and also the main advice for the CIOs is to try to step back a bit and look from outside on your organization. And also have a reflection how you would like to model your IT within next 3-5 years. All the aspects are super related to what Adam said, be close to the business, relationship, adaptive operating model. Those paradigms, those elements will determine more or less how you could have the efficient and good IT organization for the future.
Perfect. Thank you very much for joining us today. It was a pleasure.
It's also a pleasure for us. Thank you very much for hosting us.
Thank
you very
you.
much.
Thanks
Till
a
next
lot.
time.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
And that's all for today. This is Tech Talk, technology made simple over a cup of coffee. Don't miss out on any future episodes by hitting subscribe. Thank you for listening, and until the next episode.